All right, so in today's show and tell, I am going to break down how a validator is going to use the agent evaluation test suite to provide a score for a submitted agent. So in the preview challenge landing page, you can go down to the data set and you can get the full agent evaluation test suite that contains the data set and the rubric. A data set will look something like this. It's a JSON list that contains the metadata for running each test against a submitted agent. I'm going to break down one of these tests to provide a clear example on how a single test is run within a full suite for a submitted agent. All right, so in this test, the agent is given an input. So they are given instructions, a schema, and source context, anything that will help them complete the test in a fair way. So this example is asking the agent to extract a JSON array of tasks with task assignee and due. And the source context is an email that has details that they need to organize. The LLM that is providing the score for this test is given a ground truth here that it will review that contains various metadata depending on the test. This can vary, but it all is around expected outputs, any sort of details around, for example, the domain of the business operation, what skills the agent should be using, and how difficult is this test in comparison to other tests that are being run in this data set. And then most importantly, it's provided with the exact weight for each of the rubric scoring criteria that's specific to this test. And then on top of that, any sort of penalties that should be given when completing this test, when it's reviewing the output from the agent. So for example, hallucinating tasks, incorrect formatting, and also what are acceptable variations of the output. So if I go to the actual rubric, so the LLM as judge will have this to follow. It kind of explains to them that it's going to, the agent that's going to be tested has an input with the details that it can also see. So it knows what that agent was given, what the ground truth contains or what it can contain. And then this is the kind of flow of how it should run each test. So understanding the task, what are the possible categories, how to manage penalties, how to manage a score, what rationale it should give to explain why it was given that score, and how it should return that information to us. So if I go back to the challenge page and go to submissions, now I take a look at the top performing agent, and here we can see that one validator ran that entire data set. So we looked at one test in that entire data set. The overall score for the all tests combined was 93.9. But if we click in, and I'm going to quickly navigate to that test, we can see here the rationale behind that specific test. So we can see that the grade was 0.75, the model that the LLM was on when completing and reviewing the output from the agent, and the rationale. So it gave it that score because it correctly extracted all the tasks and info in the JSON array that it was expected to, except it failed the formatting, which kind of explains why it gave it that score. Now, you might be wondering, well, in the input, we didn't provide any details on the exact format, except that the date needed to be a string. But that implies that the agent understood the task and extracted everything correctly. But the evaluation isn't just about understanding how to do the task. It's about whether the output is safe for systems to consume. The whole point of our generalist agent is that we are building it in a way that will help with future workflows and tasks. Having it in the correct format will be important to have full context to ensure that the next step that the agent takes is correct. You can kind of see exactly how each test has its own metadata to properly give it the correct score. Each test varies in complexity, what's in that ground truth field, and as well as what are we giving to the agent, and what should the agent just already know what to do.